Hi, this is Mr. Spradlin, and this week we'll be looking at making a top-down 2D running and shooting game. In this example here, I have my cat moving with the arrow keys. Meanwhile, I can aim with my mouse and fire a boomerang. The boomerang comes back to the cat wherever he is. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to look at is getting the cat's movement set up. You'll see here I already have a cat sprite, and I've named him Cat because Sprite 1 isn't a very good or descriptive name. To make the cat move with the arrow keys, I'm going to get this green flag click block. There's a few different ways to do it, but this is one of my favorites. It gives nice smooth motion. I'm going to get a forever block and attach that in there as well. And then I'm going to get an if. Now we looked a little while ago at the forever if versus the forever with one if inside it, and we saw that there wasn't really a big difference, but there was one little thing that a lot of you missed, and that's a forever with many ifs inside it. A forever if, like this right here, is very much the same as a forever with one if inside it, but if you put many ifs inside a forever, it works a bit differently. Let's take a look here and see how that works. I'm going to go to sensing for my key presses, and I'm going to get 4 of these key press blocks, 1 for each of the arrows. So I'll go with the up arrow, the down arrow, right arrow, and left arrow. So those are my 4 directions there. And let's go ahead and hit the green flag and take a look. Nothing happens yet. I haven't added any code. So I'm going to go to motion. And I'm going to get a change X for the right and left. Whoops, sorry, that's a set X. I mean change X. A couple of change X's there and some change Y's for the up and down. I need to make sure I reverse the signs on the down one and the left one so they'll go the right way. Now, this cat's moving a bit faster than I want him to. He's pretty speedy, and the whole reason I shrunk him down in the first place was so that he'd have more room to play with on the stage. So I'm going to take this speed down to maybe 2. So I'll do positive 2 and or negative 2 depending on which direction I'm going. That's better. Gives me some nice smooth movement and plenty of time to go across the entire stage. So you see, by using just a single green flag block and a forever with a bunch of ifs inside it, I've gotten all of my arrow key movement taken care of with a single stack of blocks. Makes for a nice, neat program. The next thing we'll work on is the boomerang. Now you may recall from the demo at the beginning of the video that the boomerang was spinning around as it fired, spinning in a circle. This was not done with code, although we could, but instead it's done using a little trick called costumes. Every sprite in Scratch has 1 or more costumes to it, and in this case my boomerang has several. Each costume of the boomerang is just another copy of the previous one rotated slightly, so when I play them all together in sequence it looks like it's spinning. Let's take a look and see how that looks. This is not going to be the official code, so don't worry about duplicating this. But just take a look and see what it looks like. I'm just putting together a simple loop here to show the boomerang and all the different costumes it has in sequence. And there I have a spinning boomerang. By using this next costume block, I just advance to the next costume in the list. If it hits the end of the list, it goes back to the beginning. So it's running in a constant loop there, spinning in a circle. So as long as I include this next costume block somewhere in my forever, I'll get this nice spinning effect on the boomerang. To set up the costumes, all you have to do is when you make your sprite, go to the Costumes tab, and once you've drawn the first costume for it, just hit Copy. Edit the copy, rotate it slightly, and then save it. Copy it again, rotate it, save it. Copy it again, rotate it, save it. Just like this. I'll go ahead and edit this first one here. And here you see the editor for the sprite. Up here on the top are rotate buttons, clockwise and counterclockwise. Doesn't matter which way you choose, just pick one and be consistent, and rotate each sprite by 1 notch each time, and it'll look just fine. You'll end up with, about a dozen or so costumes when it's all together if you go all the way around. Now in our case, we want to do something really unusual with the boomerang. And this is a bit different from things we've tried before, so make sure you pay close attention to how this works so you'll be able to duplicate it yourself. We have a few different steps of the process. The first thing we need to do is click somewhere on the stage. This is going to be the way we aim our boomerang. Once we've clicked, the boomerang needs to fire from the cat towards that mouse click, wherever it may be, and possibly keep on going past it. We don't want to go straight to the mouse arrow because that wouldn't be very useful. Instead, we want to go in that direction. We're only using it for aiming, not for power. Once the boomerang reaches a certain distance, it needs to turn around and come back to the cat. Now when the boomerang is flying away from the cat, it's going to fly in a straight line, directly towards wherever you clicked. When it comes back to the cat, it's going to follow the cat no matter where the cat goes. So if you run away from the boomerang, it'll chase you and eventually come back to you. That way you won't lose your boomerang or leave it behind. Now we always want to think about initialization. How should things be at the very beginning of the game? And in this case, we don't want to see the boomerang at the very beginning. So the very first thing I'm going to do is put a hide on my green flag clicked. That way when we first start the game, if the boomerang does happen to be visible, it'll disappear. Now we need to deal with the mouse click. And there's a couple of different ways to do that. There is a blocking control for when something gets clicked, the boomerang in this case. We could apply it to the stage and say when the stage is clicked, do something, but that's going to be a bit complicated. The simpler way, I think, would be to go to the sensing section, and there's a mouse down box right here. And this box has angled edges. That means it's a question box. It has a yes or no answer. Is the mouse down? Now, mouse down is a computer programming term. It means that the mouse button is being held down or being pressed. So you can think of mouse down as simply a click. I can use that mouse down box along with a wait until. Let's grab one of those. To wait until the mouse gets clicked. So now when I run this, it's going to hide the boomerang, and it's going to wait until the mouse button is pressed. So now that I've got the mouse click being registered, I need to go ahead and respond to it. And this is not too complicated. All I need to do is point towards the mouse pointer, which we find in motion, and then take a few steps. But I don't want to do this all in one big chunk because then the boomerang would disappear and then reappear in the destination. So instead I'll use a repeat. And I'll just try 30 for now, but we might want to adjust this a bit later. I'll try 30 repeats of 2 steps each. But one more thing we need to do before we try this, and that's in the looks category. We've got to get a show. I want to make sure that I show the boomerang before it starts moving. Let's test it out and see how it looks. Well, it is moving, but it's always moving from its previous location. We forgot something else important, and that's more initialization. We've got to make it start out at the cat. So I'm going to put a go to cat right after the mouse click. So as soon as the mouse is clicked, the boomerang will go back to the cat invisibly because it's not being shown right now. Then it'll point towards the mouse pointer in the right direction and start moving. Let's try that. There goes the boomerang. Not quite as far as I'd like. I'll go ahead and add twice as many steps to my repeat. That looks better there. We'll go ahead and use that. Let's go ahead and take on our return trip now. We have our repeat 60 to move 2 steps to move the boomerang away from the cat. Once we've done that, we've got to bring the boomerang back again. Now we could do a repeat 60 and move -2, but there's a little problem with that. Let's see if we can find what that might be. I'll go ahead and hit the green flag, fire the boomerang, out it goes, and back it comes. Looks alright, right? Well, here's the problem. Let's say I fire the boomerang and then move. boomerang goes back to where I was, not to where I am now. So this, although it's a good idea, isn't actually going to work for us. Instead, I want to go towards the cat. Let's go ahead and get a repeat until. I want to go towards the cat until I get there. So even if the cat runs away, I want to keep on chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing until we finally get back to the cat. So we'll do a sensing with a touching the cat. So we're going to repeat until we're touching the cat. And what we're going to repeat is much like we had in the bee chase. We're going to point towards the cat, and then we're going to move a certain number of steps. I'll put it as 2 steps because we have it 2 steps here. This will make the motion look very nice and consistent. Let's try that out. Out goes boomerang, and back it comes. Out it goes, and I'll try to run away from it. Oh no, here it comes, oh! And back it comes. It'll chase me, and chase me, and chase me until finally it catches me. But if I'm pretty clever about it, and quick enough, I might be able to stay away from it for a long period of time. This is because I'm moving just as fast as the boomerang is, except on the diagonals I can pick up a little bit more speed. So I could, in effect, stay away from this boomerang forever. But not really what we want for the game. The object of the game is not to avoid the boomerang, but to catch it. So I'm going to make both of these a 3-step move instead. This way, even if I'm a little bit faster, the boomerang will always catch up to me in the end. I can't move as fast as the boomerang does. I can try to stay away, but it's gaining on me over time, and it'll eventually catch me. So we're almost there. All we need now is a few more details. First of all, the boomerang needs to spin. So let's get that next costume block we were talking about before. I want to make sure that I do a next costume in here, and also on the return trip. That way it'll spin as it goes out, and spin as it comes back. Let's take a look and see how that looks. Spinning out, and spinning back. Looks good. Also, when the boomerang comes back, it just kind of bonks my cat in the head and then stays right there. The cat can still move around. Game's not over yet, just the boomerang got done moving. So let's go ahead and alter that too. We should make it hide once it gets back. We could put that down at the very bottom after the repeat, because we know that this repeat will go until it touches the cat. So once the repeat is over, we know it must be touching the cat. That's a good time to hide. Let's try that. Throw the boomerang, catch it, and it's gone. But now if I click, no more boomerang. So I'm missing one more little element here, and that is a very simple forever loop around most of this code. I say most of it because I don't want to get this hide on top here. This is my initialization hide. I don't want to get that. But I do want to get the rest of it wrapped in a forever block. Let's try that out and see what happens. Throw it, catch it, good, throw it, catch it, alrighty, throw it, and catch it. Now what happens if I click more than once? Well, I'm clicking all over the place, but it's not throwing it again. It won't throw it a second time until it catches it, and that's just what we want. We don't want it to throw the boomerang over and over again if it's already in the air. So now we have this set up for a nice little game here. We can move around with the arrow keys, we can shoot a boomerang. All we need now is some bad guys. That's your job. Add some bad guys to this game that will move around in some interesting way. Not straight for the cat. We've done that already. Let's try moving around maybe randomly or in a straight line and just having a lot of them. But have some kind of bad guys moving around that this cat can either run around to avoid or hit with a boomerang to get rid of. And that should be a nice fun challenge for you. Go ahead and try that out, and as always, drop me a line if you have any questions. Once again, this is Mr. Spradlin, and I'll see you next week.